Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you an Arcane Archer Fighter build guide in Baldur's Gate 3. Using some gear, we can make this actually extremely powerful, and I'll be showing you exactly how. So we're starting off as the fighter, and we're going to be taking the archery fighting style to give ourselves a higher critical or a higher hit chance, which is going to help out when we take sharpshooter later on. For ability scores, we're going 16 dexterity. We're going to dump strength. If you really want to, you can use the Titan string bow alongside strength potions for maximum amounts of damage, but we're mainly going to be built around dexterity here with 14 constitution and 16 intelligent, as this is the save DC for the arcane arrows that we get. It doesn't really state that very well, but that is what we're going to be using. So 16 dex, 14 constitution, 16 intelligence, 10 in wisdom and charisma. So we'll roll with that there. This is actually very powerful, and I'll show you guys how to make this extremely strong with the newly powerful Knife of the Undermountain King, which has been fixed in patch 8 and now works properly, which will give us advantage on our bow attacks. So at level 2, action surge, you know the deal, an extra action to blast away with your arrows. Now at level 3, we get to choose the Arcane Archer subclass. We also get a choice of a cantrip. Guidance is kind of nice to have, but someone should have it in your party. Light or don't ever take True Strike. Now for our arcane arrow shots, there's some really good ones early game. These are actually pretty effective in the early game. Shadow arrow makes the target blinded, which gives disadvantage on attack rolls, and you get advantage on your attack rolls. This can be very, very effective. Piercing arrow is also quite nice. If you have arrows or targets lined up, you can do a piercing arrow through all of them. And in addition to this, I also like to go with the either bursting arrow, it's kind of like a fireball with a large explosion, or the seeking arrow, which is like magic missile. It'll find targets. So sometimes you just can't hit a target. Sometimes you can hit it with the seeking arrow. So this is a good one to have. It can also potentially apply fairy fire, which will give you advantage on your attack rolls against the target. At level 4, we get to choose a feat. Now we could go with the ability score improvement to take up our dexterity. There's also the option of just going with sharpshooter. This will give you a -5 penalty attack rolls, but plus 10 damage, which at level 4 is substantial. That's going to let you one-shot a lot of enemies. But you can also wait to take it and go with a dexterity improvement for better armor class and attack rolls with your bow. It's entirely up to you. Sharpshooter will make you very strong though. Level 5, extra attack, enough said. It's a nice power spike. At level 6, we get ourselves another choice in feat, and at this point you could go with the sharpshooter feat. The -5 to attack rolls is offset by the archery, so it's like a -3, and then this will deal additional 10 damage, which is actually crazy. If your hit chance is really low, you can toggle this off, but we also don't get penalties from high ground rules either, so that's pretty nice. We also get the magic arrow, which will overcome resistance to physical damage types, and whenever you miss an attack with your magical range arrow, you can use a bonus action to attack the next closest target with the same attack. Very cool. So if you miss, you can hit somebody else. Arcane shots, we'll be going with the bursting arrow now, which will create a kind of fireball like attack. Now the arrows are very powerful early game. They do scale down in terms of their effectiveness, but they're still plenty strong. So at level 8, we get to choose another feat here, so we can go with either dexterity increase to take it up to 20 there. Now there's also another thing we can go with, so crossbow expert. If we're using hand crossbows, whenever we do our melee attacks, or whenever we do close range attacks, we don't have disadvantage, and we apply gaping wounds for twice as long. This is an interesting way, because we can get in close, use the ballast armor in late game. The ballast armor makes targets vulnerable to piercing damage, so that plus 10 damage that we got then turns into a plus 20. And this doesn't actually apply properly to the arrow attacks, but it'll apply to your ranged attacks. You can also just stab with a dagger. That's another choice. But an ability score improvement to take up to dexterity to 20 also works nice. This is for maximum damage, which I'll show off, but you could obviously just go with the increase of dexterity. Level 9, we get Indomitable, reroll our saving throws that we fail. Level 10 gives us another arcane arrow and another choice in one. Banishing arrow can be kind of nice to take out a target to another plane of existence. Charmed arrows, okay. Same with enfeeblement. It makes the target do half damage from strength throws. This is okay though, so this reduces movement speed and it makes them take damage when they move. It's almost like a booming blade for your bow. So go with either the banishing arrow or the grasping arrow, whichever one of these you find more useful. I found personally the extra damage is nice. Level 11, we get the extra attack. That's always a good power spike. Now we could go with an ability score improvement to take up our dexterity to 20. However, we can also go ahead with adding in the war cleric for bonus action attacks. With the war cleric, this gives us 3 bonus action attacks, which is actually pretty nice. We also get a choice of cantrips, so you can get some fun ones like bursting sinew, toll the dead. You're not going to have a high save DC on these because you're using wisdom for a casting. So even like Blade Ward could be okay if you know you're getting into combat. You can start off with that, or Thaumaturgy. It's really your choice there. Nothing super spectacular that we want to have. Creator Destroy Water is also nice because you can set up for any casters that you may have on your team, or you can just use Healing Word if you got a downed ally. This is going to be kind of like a way to pick them up. Sanctuary is also not bad, but we're going to be attacking a lot, so it's really just those choices there that you can go with. The War Cleric extra attacks are really nice. That's 3 bonus action attacks, making us be able to attack normally 4 times. So the War Priest extra charges there. Now for our gear, we're going all about the critical hit damage. So with this, we got the Knife of the Undermountain King. You need to roll to hit a critical hit, reduced by 1. And we also get Shadow Blade, which Shadow Blade applies to our bow attacks too. So we have advantage on attack rolls against lightly or heavily obscure targets while using this blade. Also the Dolo Armaris here, which will give us additional 7 damage when we hit a critically hit. And with the Ballast Armor, that's 14 extra damage. So yeah, that becomes really strong really quickly. This also applies to our bow attack. So both these weapons will buff up our bow. Now we're going to want to have the Ballast Armor equipped because this is going to give us the gives enemies vulnerability to piercing damage, so they take double piercing damage and a +2 to initiative. We can also go with a few different gloves. Like mid-game, the Dark Justiciar gauntlets are great. Early game, if you want to just dump dexterity and take the gloves dexterity, that can work well. Eldest gloves will give us fire damage on our attacks. That's probably going to be the best choice. Or gloves of the balanced hand. When we do our offhand attack, we can add our ability modifier to the damage of the attack rolls there, so that can also be quite nice. So you can go with whichever one of these that you prefer. And I personally think best damage is going to be the Helldust gloves, so we're going to roll with that. But the Crater Flesh gloves is nice too, because we get additional force damage when we hit criticals, which we want to hit because we're going to use the Shade Slayer Cloak here, which increase critical hit chance by 1. Cloak Protection is always a good choice. We'll put our armor class at 21. We have a lower armor class here as a fighter, but we're a damage powerhouse. We got 147 health with the Amulet of Greater Health. Go with the Killer Sweetheart here for that free crit, because the extra damage that we get on critical hits is actually monumental. Ring of Protection for better armor class, but we can also go with like the Ring of Free Action to give ourselves the ability to not get slowed down by difficult terrain, so we can move around quite freely, which is something we want because we're about positioning. Now I'm also using Titan String Bow because this will give us the extra strength damage on our bow attacks. However, since we're going to be using the crossbow expert feat, I'm going to go with these two here. So the Fire Stoker and the Hellfire Hand Crossbow. This will give us extra damage when we're hiding or invisible, which if you got that, the Deathstalker Mantle actually works very well for these as well. So if you want a higher crit chance, Slade Slayer Cloak, this gives you a +5% critical hit chance. But with these items together, we actually become very powerful. Alternatively, another helmet that we could go with is actually the Steel Watcher helmet. This is a medium armor, but we can't be blinded. And this gives advantage on Constitution saving throw, not a big deal, but the can't be blinded is actually massive, because then we can use Arrows of Darkness and hide out in them. And that just gives us a lot of extra damage and mobility, just a lot of overall usefulness from taking something like that. So what we could do is literally have one of our characters here go ahead with an Arrow of Darkness to set up darkness for us. So just like this, we'll do an Arrow of Darkness to create a patch of darkness. And then what we can do is we can have our own character go and hide out in it. So this gives us some useful survivability. As we're kind of a stealthy archer, we have a lot of tools at our disposal. So being able to see in the darkness is really nice, because then you can just go into here. We'll get advantage on our attacks because it's heavily obscured targets. So you can see there we got advantage. And then we literally just do crossbow attacks. I would recommend turning off your dual wielding so that you don't do the bonus action attacks. You got options of what you want to do, but we also got like Piercing Arrow here, which can hit a lot of targets if we line this up correctly. So piercing arrows are really strong. You can see that there. We're going to hit 4 targets with that, so it actually hit really, really powerfully, and that was good. We add the additional damage riders onto our attacks, and then we can also do just a melee attack, although our crossbow attacks do more damage, so it's better for us to do a crossbow attack. That'll take him out, no problem. Exactly, and we're free to camp out. We also now have with the handfire hell crossbow, anytime we do a normal weapon attack while invisible, we're going to add in additional we're going to burn the target, and then we can hit them with the offhand attack, and then they'll also get extra damage taking. So that can be a really nice way to just spice up overall damage. But we do have a lot of different arrows here. Like we do a bursting arrow, which has a very large area of effect, so we can go ahead with that, blasting away with it. We rolled a critical hit, perfect, and that did the extra damage on the target and applied force damage to everyone around it, and actually took out one of the targets that we want to remove. So then we can follow up with since there's not really a use for doing a seeking arrow or anything else, we could just do a normal ranged weapon attack. We can also, if we see a target with a lot of health, we can apply the this attack here, which will, oh, I should probably not do that. We took them out, that's fine. We're using the grasping arrow can actually create like a bit of a difficulty for them to move, so that's really nice when you use it on that target over there. So I'm not going to react. We'll apply the grasping arrow so they'll take damage next time that they move. And then we have an offhand attack, or we could use our war priest charge as well to do another type of attack. With this also we got action surge, so you always want to be bursting down. It's an action economy. The more targets you can remove, the better. So we'll move into close range of this target. Now they have the aura of murder, so we can go ahead with our bow attack there. And this should hopefully do enough damage to take them out. Oh, it did 40. Yeah, you can see there, sharpshooter becomes deadly with this. So then we can go ahead and take out this target here. That'll definitely do enough to remove them. Yeah, this you can see is actually pretty overpowered. And then there's targets back here. We don't have enough movement speed to be able to hit them, but yeah, we don't have enough movement speed, unfortunately. But we could hit this target again, so we may as well just do that for the extra damage that it'll give off, and then that remove them. That's perfect. So yeah, I don't think we could hit this target here with our bonus, but you can see there we deleted so many targets. It's actually crazy. Ideally we move back into the darkness and be fine, but we don't have anything else we can do. So what we can do is add divine favor or shield of faith here, just to give ourselves some extra, I guess. This is a concentration, but this will give us extra radiant damage on our attacks. May as well take it. And so this is perfect. We're invisible now, and we have a target running right up on us. So what we can do is we can jump out of this and attack them with our hand crossbow there, get ourselves a little extra damage. I wasn't in close enough range to give them the vulnerability to piercing damage, so now we'll take them out with that. Perfect. 60 damage. That's crazy for a single arrow. And Minsk is in the way of me doing a bursting arrow, so I guess I can always just move him out of the way, and I guess that's not ideal, but we'll do the opportunity attack anyway, yeah, we'll get him out of the way so that I can use a proper attack and do something like a bursting arrow or something along the lines of that. The seeking arrow is nice, but we also have like the piercing arrow as an option too. So this won't hit any of our teammates, so that's the perfect decision to go with for right now. 22 damage, not a whole lot, but we can also just get in close and then go with another option like the I guess we'll go to the side of them and do a piercing arrow through both of them there, hopefully take out both in one shot. Booyah, that almost took out that other one there. That was actually a good amount of damage. And then the final one, we'll just blast them right there. 40 damage. Yeah, as you can see, it actually hits very hard. So that's the Arcane Archer in Baldur's Gate 3. Very fun subclass. If you got any questions or comments, leave them in the comments below, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Hit subscribe if you enjoyed. Have yourself a great day.